I've been watching the new season of Legends of Vox Machina, and a scene from season 2, episode 4, I think, sent me on this meandering sort of tangent through ancient stories, and I had the strangest thought that maybe I would like to make a video about it. And after going down the rabbit warren of all the usual considerations, will it make a good video? Will it be too short? Will it interest anybody? Will it be able to stand against the tide of the algorithm when I haven't uploaded in so long? I decided in the end that I would rather make a video than not make a video, so here we are. Hi. Hello, humans. So, the Calamity, briefly, for anyone not up on their Exandrian lore, was a war in the Critical Role setting that was fought a really, really long time ago between the prime deities and deities known as the betrayer gods. It was pretty bad. By the end of it, all the gods, both betrayer and not betrayer, were shut out from physically entering the material plane anymore. In season 2, episode 4 of Vox Machina, I checked, I'm right, some things happen. I will resist giving details since it's very spoiler heavy, but Vax ends up having a vision of a battlefield during the Exandrian Calamity. I will describe it to you, since I'm not convinced I'll be able to get the footage. Hello there, editor's note. I did find it, hooray for me. This isn't going to contain any story spoilers, but if you want to avoid the visuals from the show, then I suppose that this would be the time to click away. Be warned! Woo! What he sees are all these soldiers killing each other, decked out, I'll point out, in armor inspired by classical Roman and Greek armor, rather than medieval. It's not that important, but, you know, they're wearing togas. They've got those Roman skirty things, sort of hoplite style helmets. I just think it's interesting, given where I'm going with this. Vax then sees a colossal hand rising through the smoke over the fray, and he looks up and he sees the shapes of gods stretching up into the sky, grotesque, beautiful, incomprehensible, the gods overseeing their war. He's given a glimpse not usually afforded to mortals of the reality of their world's pantheon. Now, the Trojan War is mostly covered in the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer from the Greek perspective, but we actually get a lot more detail about the fall of the city itself in Virgil's Aeneid. If you want the whole story, I made a video on it many, many years ago. I will link it here if you promise not to judge my past self too harshly. Anyway, Aeneas is a prince of Troy. The Trojans have all gone to bed thinking that the war is over and the Greek army has left, but as I'm sure you're all aware, it was actually a trick. So Aeneas wakes up in the midst of the attack on the city in the dead of night, and he rushes out to try and help, but all around him, people are dying, the city is on fire, it's hell on earth. We're talking about book 2, line, I want to say 600-ish? Somewhere around there. Venus shows up, Aeneas' mother. He makes a point to describe that in all the times he's seen her, she has never once looked like this. So inhumanly radiant that she must be appearing to him in her true form for the first time, the way she appears to the other immortals. Aeneas is so angry right now that he wants to blame Helen, blame Paris, anyone for what's happening, but Venus stops him and says, they're not to blame, but the gods. The relentless gods overthrow Troy from her heights. Because the gods have all taken sides and have been fanning the war. Some of them over the pettiest things, owed debts and not winning apples, and they're out here inventing trick horses and sending snakes to murder people. Venus warns Aeneas not to be afraid, but she's going to lift from his eyes the veil of mortality. She says basically, mortals can't see this stuff, but I'm gonna let you see the truth of this war. She shows him where he thought a wall was collapsing under siege. Really, it's Neptune. Neptune himself razing the city to the ground, uprooting it from its foundations with his trident. Where he thought the Greek reinforcements had forced open the western gate, he could see now that it was Juno, leading a charge the soldiers didn't even know they were following. The storm beginning to swirl around the highest tower was Athena making use of Zeus's thunderbolt, even where Aeneas and his family had survived the night by what seemed like luck. Really, it was his mother, forcing back flames and misdirecting enemies to protect them. All these things that had seemed human, seemed worldly, I suppose, the gods were directly playing their hand. Virgil ends the passage with a very evocative, unfinished statement. Venus gives Aeneas his instructions and her comfort, and she vanishes into the darkness, and Aeneas describes dread shapes come to view, despising Troy. Great presences divine. ... Sun, piss off! Go back behind a cloud! So I was watching Legends of Vox Machina, and I was reading the Aeneid, and I was thinking about EXU Calamity, because that game did a remarkable job of replicating a classical tragic structure, something that is usually very difficult to do in a tabletop RPG. And I don't know exactly what my point is, but I just can't help but marvel at the way this contemporary fantasy reflects a story millennia old. If it was deliberate, then it's just a smart move, calling back to an ancient classical text to provide this new text with some, shiny sense of grandeur or authenticity, maybe. It also works double time, reinforcing the feeling of this ancient time and place that we see in the vision. Even the idea that the gods disappear from the mortal realm after this world-shattering war. The Trojan War comes very late in the classical mythological timeline, so even in stories, the gods rarely show up to directly interfere with the mortal world after that. So it's similar in that way as well to the creation of the Divine Gate in Exandria. But if the similarities aren't deliberate, which is kind of what I suspect, then isn't it interesting that we're still caught on this philosophical ponderance, so many story cycles later, a fear of the gods working their will through us, that they each have their own motives, that they don't care about yours. The feeling that the gods were here with us then, and they aren't now. And the question of whether that's why it's so much more peaceful now than in that horrible time of war. But the gods, the relentless gods, great presences divine.